Nvidia and AMD have agreed to pay 15% of chip sales to China to the U.S. government. Now, that deal will reportedly give Nvidia and AMD licenses to sell some chips in China. Meanwhile, an end to a pause on higher tariffs imposed by the U.S. on China will take effect tomorrow. So I want to bring in CBS News MoneyWatch correspondent Kelly O'Grady for much more on all of this. Kelly, thank you for joining us. Can you give us the background on how the Trump administration was able to negotiate this deal and just how much money could this bring in?
Yeah, so Mugo, I lost you towards the end of that question, but I have a sense that what you want to hear me talk about is how this all came together.
Yes.
But basically, this is really more of this pay to play that we have seen with the president, trying to get investment into the country. This is yet another way. So Nvidia and AMD, they will give 15% of their chip revenue from selling specific chips into China. So this is a win for the government from a perspective of collecting more revenue, not tariff revenue this time, right? Because this is exporting to China rather than importing something. But they can use that to pay down the debt. They can use that to do other things. For Nvidia and AMD, this is a really big win, excuse me, because China is such a major market for these chip companies. And for the past few months, it was unclear whether they were going to be able to sell into this market at all, even with the specific chips that they had designed to satisfy the requirements of export restrictions that were placed under the Biden administration. So sort of a big win all around. It is the first kind of deal that I have seen done like this, but Mugo, it goes back to that pay to play strategy that the president has been deploying and negotiating, whether it be countries or companies, as he sets this sort of new trade policy.
Yeah, and Kelly, I have more questions for you, but I just want to make sure you can actually hear me right now. Can you?
I gotcha. Yes.
Perfect. Okay, I like to hear that. So we know President Trump is calling on China to quadruple its soybean orders. How does this affect the trade relationship ahead of plans to end a pause of those higher tariffs on China tomorrow?
Puts the pressure on the situation, because we do know that the Chinese want to extend this deadline. Remember, there were very high tariffs all the way up to 145% back a few months ago. Then both sides took a 90-day pause to negotiate. They have met a number of times. Most recently, it was in Sweden a week or two ago, and the Chinese said, things have been going well. We want to continue negotiating. We also heard from White House officials that things were going well, but there has been no confirmation from President Trump that he does want to extend that deadline. Now, we know that there are a number of different things that are at play, whether it be the tariff rate, whether it be access to those sophisticated semiconductor chips that we just talked about. But a big thing that the president has wanted to do is to get China to buy more from the U.S., to lessen that trade deficit. And one thing that he did deploy under his first administration in the deal that was negotiated with China was a commitment from China to up their purchase of agricultural products, U.S. agricultural products, and soybean was one of them. I have spoken to a number of soybean farmers. This is something that they would love to see. China is a very important market for them. So I think this Truth Social post that we saw just puts more pressure ahead of tomorrow and ahead of him giving the go-ahead to say, yes, we want to continue negotiating, because again, we haven't heard that yet from the president.
Yeah, we have not. So Paramount, who we should know, by the way, this is important, is a parent company of CBS News and TKO. They have announced a historic UFC media rights agreement. Can you tell us what this agreement includes? Sounds like a big deal.
It is. So this is worth roughly $7.7 billion over the lifetime of the deal. So it's a 7-year deal starting in 2026. And what this does for both sides, Paramount is going to be able to have those 43, I believe it is, fights or events that the UFC does every year available on Paramount Plus. The argument would be you'd get more people, UFC fans, to sign up for Paramount Plus at $12.99 a month. And then for the UFC, they're moving away from the pay-per-view model. Remember, right now they have a deal with ESPN that ESPN Plus subscribers are able to pay roughly $80 per fight or per event to have access to that. And, it limits who you're able to get, because not everyone, if I'm not a UFC fan, I haven't necessarily paid $80 to watch a fight. It's a hefty sum. And so the argument here is you're going to have more people who would potentially be interested and have access to that UFC event. And then on the Paramount side, you would get all those folks who are currently UFC fans to pay for Paramount Plus. So it's definitely a step up for UFC in terms of the money that they are getting for those rights on a yearly basis. And I will also say, Mugo, this just underscores the importance of sports rights in this transforming media landscape. We have seen the NFL, the NBA, the WNBA get some hefty sums, and this is yet another one.
Certainly sounds like it. Kelly O'Grady, thank you so much for your insight today.